Bagamat na natalo sila 'di ba ng Amerika nung World War II, pero mga tol, kahit na nagkaroon sila ng kasunduan siyempre ng Amerika na hindi na sila makikisangkot sa kahit na anumang gera 'di ba? Pero hindi nila napabayaan yung kanilang teknolohiya, no? Hindi nga tayo magugulat baka may tinatago ng Gundam yan. Pero mga tol, dito makikita natin iba pa rin talaga yung technology ng Japan. Pwede mo nga sabihin na talaga sila yung the sleeping giant no?
I'm just a young nigga chillin' on it. First time I seen ice was a
The war machine hidden in civilian companies. Mitsubishi turns cars into tanks.
Oo, yung Mitsubishi 'di ba? Kilala na natin yung Mitsubishi 'di ba? Alam na natin yung ano niyan.
Japan may be peaceful, but it's also powerful. Japan's entire civilian industrial base is in fact a dormant weapons factory. On a regular day, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries makes air conditioners and high-speed trains. Kawasaki Heavy Industries makes motorcycles and industrial tools. Toyota and Komatsu are busy making off-road vehicles and excavators. But once a wartime mobilization order is given, the logic of the production lines changes instantly. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries could switch molds and start producing world-class Type 10 main battle tanks.
Eto talaga, walang duda mga tol. Etong mga kumpanya na to, na-master na talaga nila yung ganitong klase ng industriya. Kasi dito pa lang sa Pilipinas pag sinabing halimbawa Toyota, Japan yan, Honda, Suzuki, Mitsubishi, Isuzu, 'di ba? Yung mga Japanese brand. Talagang wala ka ng question diyan sa mga yan no. Pinakamabenta rito sa atin ang alam ko Toyota. Hindi ko sure pero yun ang alam ko number 1 pa rin Toyota.
The same assembly lines that made off-road vehicles for Toyota and Komatsu can quickly pivot to produce military armored vehicles and engineering tanks. Sony, Kyocera, and other electronic giants can switch from making cameras and ceramic components for civilian use to making missile guidance systems and radar core components. This is what Zhongnanhai truly fears.
Yun ang kinakatakutan nila mga tol. Kasi etong mga brand na to, na pinag-uusapan, mga veterans na to pagdating sa ganito. No, na-master na talaga nila yung ganyang industriya. So kaya talaga nilang gumawa ng para naman dito sa military ng Japan.
China relies on a few state-owned military factories going solo, but Japan has a whole world-class civilian industrial network behind it. Once war breaks out, the entire network can instantly convert to a military production network. And let's not forget about the F-35. Why did the United States place one of the 3 global final assembly and checkout centers for the F-35 in Mitsubishi Heavy Industries in Japan? Because the Americans are well aware that Japan's precision engineering and quality control can handle the level of weaponry required.
Hindi lang Amerika, buong mundo. Aware sila dyan. Iba ang kakayanan ng mga Hapon.
What's the current situation? Over there, China is still reverse engineering, trying to figure out stealth materials. But in Japan, Mitsubishi's factory is already dismantling and reassembling the F-35 like it's a Lego set. If a war really breaks out, the US wouldn't even need to ship F-35s from its homeland one by one.
Kasi nandun na
As long as they provide the key parts, and some parts are made in Japan, Japan will instantly become a hatchery and a revival point for the F-35. When one is lost at the front, another can be quickly repaired and sent back up. Right now, China is desperately building warships, using numbers to intimidate. On the other hand, Japan is quietly building manufacturing capability.
So dito pa rin mga tol, pumapasok yung quality over quantity. Kahit marami kayo pero hindi naman ganun dekalidad, 'di ba? Matatalo pa rin kayo ng talagang mga quality made.
To intimidate. On the other hand, Japan is quietly building manufacturing capability. If Japan and China really went to war in the East China Sea, the first month would likely see both sides suffering losses, with China possibly taking a small advantage thanks to its missile stockpiles.
Marami kasi sila.
By the second month, things would change. China's precision machine tools would be blocked, chips would be cut off, damaged equipment couldn't be repaired, and new equipment couldn't be produced. Meanwhile, Japan's car factories would turn into tank factories, and electronics factories would become missile factories. All the while, the entire Western supply chain would be continually fueling Japan's efforts. This logic was used by the US to defeat Japan in the war, and now Japan has learned it and is ready to use it on China. This is what Zhongnanhai truly fears, not the 200,000 self-defense forces on paper. What they fear is that once the war begins, Japan's millions of skilled industrial workers could in one night go from being office workers to military producers.
Ooh.
Facing an opponent like this, how long can China's confidence, which is built on bragging and showpieces, last in a war of attrition? Beijing knows the answer. This is the real reason they've been shouting louder and attacking Japan. China's
The Wolf Warriors Howl, radar, name-calling, and fish-bombing exercises.
Wolf Warrior Howl, radar, name-calling, and fish-bombing exercises.
Oh, yan ang ginagawa nila.
Now let's take a look at how the CCP regime, feeling insecure, exposes its weaknesses in fear. The answer can be found in the past few months. First, let's look at the most dangerous and revealing move, fire control radar locking in international waters. What does turning on fire control radar mean in military terms? It's like unlocking the safety of a gun. You can shoot at any moment. In naval practice around the world, this is already considered a near act of war. Why does the US military rarely do this? Because they don't need a show of threat. But China's
Sabagay.
approach is, first, the Coast Guard and the Navy go in and harass. Then when Japan catches them, China's foreign ministry refuses to admit it, while state media subtly hints at violence. Now, let's
Sa bagay, no, yung talagang malalakas, hindi tahimik lang hindi na nila kailangan manindak kasi alam na kung ano yung kakayanan nila
talk about Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi. What does this Iron Lady of Japan say? She says, a Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. This one sentence ripped the curtain down, exposing the underlying agreement between the US and Japan. How did Beijing respond? From the People's Daily to its foreign ministry, they mobilized the entire network to personally attack one foreign politician.
Matindi yung naging response dyan ng China. Ang dami nila, pinagbawal yung mga citizen nila pumunta ng Japan, di ba? Kinat nila yung mga flight, binawasan nila yung mga flight papuntang Japan, tapos pinatigil nila yung pag-i-import ng mga seafood mula rito sa Japan.
Even suggesting she isn't fit to be prime minister. They're trying to intervene in Japan's internal politics. It's clear they're desperately looking for a scapegoat. Why did China react so strongly? Because Takaichi pointed out the script Xi Jinping fears the most. If the Taiwan Strait War breaks out, Japan won't be a spectator. It'll be a combatant as per the treaty.
Kaya mas malaking sakit ng ulo ngayon ng China yon kasi ang iniisip talaga nila kailangan makuha nila tong Taiwan ng walang sagabal paano pag ang Japan ang nangialam, 'di ba? Sa Japan pa lang mga tol, talagang mas malaking sakit na ng ulo nila yon.
The Cold War, faced with Japan's truly increasing military budget and relaxing arms export, Beijing has no countermeasures and can only desperately label a woman who spoke the truth. Finally, we have the live fire exercises in the Yellow Sea, claimed to be the largest in 5 years. The no-fly zones were drawn large, target ships were dragged into the sea and exploded in dramatic splashes, and state media ran headlines read, "The arrow has left the quiver." But if you think about it, you'll realize that this show wasn't meant for the enemy, but for domestic consumption. The real audience for the show is Beijing itself. They need those red no-fly zones on their map and the dramatic moment on TV to cover up their unspoken fear. This is a regime where once the fighting starts can lose the future of the nation. Internal war game simulations have already been done countless times, and the conclusion is always the same. Once the US and Japan join forces, China has no chance in the first island chain. That's why you see louder and louder rhetoric, but actions always stay within the provocation zone.
Kaya pala si Xi Jinping mga tol, bibihira to, napaka-rare nito. Siya mismo yung nag-initiate ng tawag dito kay Trump. War game simulations, 3 scenarios for war, all leading to Zhong Hanhai's loss.
What will be the outcome if it really comes to a fight? War games can be made very complicated, with a bunch of models and parameters. But strip away the technical details, and there are really only 3 scenarios. In all 3 scenarios, the conclusion's the same. China not only can't win, but it also can't afford to lose. Beijing is willing to fight Japan, but without US intervention. There are 3 fatal flaws with this idea. 1. If Japan really gets serious, they could lose an airport in Okinawa, but retreat to Honshu or Hokkaido. Behind them, they have American military bases one after another. China, on the other hand, if it loses a few ports or airports along its southeastern coast, it could cripple the entire engine zone of China's economy.
Ooh.
2. Japan has the entire Western supply chain behind it. If China makes a move, it would immediately become a sanctioned and partially blocked economy. 3. Around the Senkaku Islands and Miyako Strait, the US and Japan sea and air forces are integrated. If China dares to truly strike, you can't guarantee that Chinese missiles won't accidentally hit US military vessels or aircraft.
Kasi pag tinamaan nila yun, damay na talaga ang Amerika. Kaya sabi, willing makipaglaban ang China sa Japan basta hindi mangingialam etong Amerika. Pero syempre, may mga US base dun eh. Once na yun ay tinamaan nila, damay na Amerika.
You can't guarantee that Chinese missiles won't accidentally hit US military vessels or aircraft. The moment a US plane or ship gets involved, the entire scenario switches. Scenario 2. The US and Japan join forces. This is the version run by all professional think tanks. The moment Japan gets involved, the US must intervene under Article 5 of the US-Japan Security Treaty.
Meron din pala silang treaty.
This scene would unfold like this. From the start, air superiority is seized by the US and Japan. The US F-35, F-22, and Japan's F-15J will press from Okinawa, Guam, and Alaska. The moment China's J-20 leaves port, it faces an impenetrable data chain Skynet. Whoever is marked first disappears from the screen first. Sea control has long been locked down. If China's fleet wants to break through the first island chain, it must go through the Miyako Strait or the Bashi Channel. The US and Japan have already laid mines, anti-submarine nets, and shore-based anti-ship missiles at these points, adding multi-layered firepower from both sea and air. Every step forward is like jumping into a carefully planned firepower trap. Japan can convert civilian industries into military ones, and the US has the entire North American industrial system and dollar-based economy behind it. China, on the other hand, is juggling frontline war losses while its energy, food, and shipping are cut off, while depleting its national reserves to maintain stability and suppress domestic unrest. In this scenario, China's options are limited. Either they hold on until they're almost defeated, or they retreat, making concessions and offering territorial losses as a strategic withdrawal. On the surface, they shout no fear of war, but deep down they're trembling. They're thinking, how can we lose without it looking so bad? Scenario 3. Systemic Showdown. This is the version Zhou Nanhai fears the most, but doesn't dare to say out loud. The front line spirals out of control, and regional war turns into a fight to protect the regime. There's a harsh difference here. What if Japan loses? If they bow, step down, change cabinets, the country remains, the system remains. What if the US loses? They retreat to their homeland, change presidents, suffer a blow to their hegemony, but their country's foundation doesn't collapse. But what if China loses? If China loses, it doesn't just lose a battle. It's the loss of the legitimacy of its entire ruling regime. What follows would be economic collapse, the evaporation of political credibility, and the falling away of vested interest groups.
So talagang talo talaga sila pag ganun ang nangyari.
What will Beijing face? It's not just about losing a few islands. The real question is whether the regime can hold on. Under such pressure, they might drag Russia into the fray, seeking an alliance. They might resort to nuclear threats, engage in brinkmanship, or even turn 1.4 billion people into bargaining chips. Putting these three scenarios together, when you stack these three scenarios, you begin to understand China's recent wolf warrior performances aren't just about preparing for war. They're about desperately trying to avoid crossing that irreversible line and starting the fight. Why make such empty threats? Because CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping knows better than anyone else the conclusions of the war games. Once China and Japan go to war, the stakes are not just in the East China Sea, they're on the throne in Beijing. The US and Japan are betting on geopolitical interests and strategic space. If China goes to war, it's gambling with the survival of its regime and its entire leadership.
Sugal. Sugal na parang mahirap maipanalo. Kaya, kumbaga sabing ganun, empty threats. Matapang, nakaka-intimidate, tignan, pero ang real reason kung bakit nila ginagawa yon para hindi matuloy. Kasi kapag yun nga natuloy, napakatindi nung senaryo na kailangan nilang malagpasan. Kaya mas mabuting wag na lang talaga matuloy. Diba? Well, ganun din naman ang gusto nating lahat, diba? Sana hindi mangyari, hindi matuloy. Kasi nakita natin mga tol kung ano yung diferensya nitong dalawang bansang to. Anyway, bilang mga tao rito sa ating daigdig, ano ang inyong masasabi? Dito, comment na lamang kayo sa ibaba. Maraming salamat. Hanggang sa muli, ako nga pala si Shobal D. Peace out.